All right, let's get started. First off, I want to thank everyone for coming. Welcome to re:Invent 2021 in person. That's a lot of fun, right? My name is Jamie Dumo. I am a business development leader with AWS for M&E. And we are thrilled that you're able to join us today for this session on transforming broadcast production, playout, and fan experiences. Broadcasters continue to adopt the newest technologies as a means to differentiate themselves in an ever-increasing competitive market. And in this session, we are thrilled to feature a wide variety of successful use cases from valued customers like Discovery, ViacomCBS, and Discovery Sports, sharing how they are redefining as well as further optimizing their workloads on AWS. With the acceleration of direct-to-consumer and the convergence of broadcast with OTT workflows means that there are more services and content competing for viewers more today than ever before in the industry. Consumers are able to churn through platforms faster, chasing the experiences that most resonates with them. And for these reasons, we are hearing from our customers that they need more flexibility to adapt to these changing behaviors. They need the flexibility to quickly and easily readjust their technology stack per genre, per event, in order to optimally meet their business requirements. Building with that single recipe of provisioning for the worst case scenario, it just cannot keep up with today's pace of innovation, nor the pace of, what's the best way to say it? Nor the best aspect of consumer fragmentation. That is changing very quickly. So for some business requirements, we find that broadcasters may need lower latency and higher signal quality, while for other business requirements, the same broadcasters may need to focus more on lowering costs while increasing reliability. To assist our customers, we are continually innovating with flexibility in mind, and our AWS Media Services and products demonstrates our efforts. Customers choose AWS Media Services to prepare, to process, to deliver their live and nonlinear content from the cloud. And these managed services allow customers to build and rebuild their workflows quickly, thereby eliminating capacity planning so that you can easily scale with growth, and you can also be able to benefit from cost optimization with pay-as-you-go pricing. Along with the AWS innovations, we have an incredible partner community focused to help customers with their solution adoption. With more than 500 partners now, our customers can benefit with choice and flexibility to not just keep up with M&E's disruptive business trends, but to enable our customers to internally redefine what disruption is to be just business as usual. And the results are showing. In 1 year, we expanded from roughly 1,600 playout channels originating on AWS to about 2,900 now, driven by customers like A&E, Cinedigm, Discovery, NBC Olympics, Pac-12, ViacomCBS, and Warner Media. And playout, although that's a great accomplishment, is not the only growth that we're seeing. There's a lot of exciting innovation within live remote production for news, for sports, and for special events. And Sky is a great example of this innovation, as well as this redefinition of market disruption to BAU. And they were able to accomplish this with their 12-day live production of COP26 climate conference. To host the event, Sky News required a production gallery, production control room, with the same complement of functionality that powers their high-quality brands every day. However, there was no availability with their on-prem facility, and they had limited time. Typically, their on-prem builds took about 6 months to construct and about 1 month worth of testing. Sky had 6 weeks from conversation to launch to build a solution. And because of this time crunch, there was no time to retrain staff on a different type of solution. So, Sky built their production gallery on AWS. Built with continuous integration and continuous delivery best practices in order to automate their deployments, Sky delivered a flawless 12-day event with extreme low latency to direct-to-home, OTT, and their Sky Glass platforms. Sky spun up the environment prior to the event every day and spun it back down. And as a result, this enabled a flexible production gallery for a fraction of the cost compared to their on-prem facilities, as well as drastically reduce the associated carbon footprint typical for this type of event. And one of the technology partners for COP26 was VizRT. Sky leveraged VizRT for their cloud-first live production solution, including VizVector for switching for up to 40 camera feeds, VizEngine for graphics, and VizMozart for automation. When Sky launched on day one, it was all hands on deck. And everyone here who, especially within the broadcast industry, knows what that exercise is. This was the best story they had told me. About 3 hours into the event, the nervousness started dissipating, and people started fizzling out. And by day 2, it was just business as usual. To demonstrate another example how AWS provides the flexibility to lead to customer success, I'm happy to present this video by Discovery, who could not join us in person today, sharing their next chapter of cloud-based playout and the substantial benefits they continue to realize at scale.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dave Duvall. I'm the Chief Information Officer at Discovery. A little bit later, you'll hear from Rasha Ahmad, who's our Senior Director of Cloud FinOps and Strategy at Discovery as well. We're really excited today to be here to talk to you about our linear cloud playout journey and the TCO study that we recently completed. But before we do all that, Discovery is a big brand and a big company. A lot of you probably know Discovery Channel, but we wanted to begin by showing a quick clip all about our company and all the brands that we know and love and we bring to consumers every day, and you can learn a little bit more about us before we get into the study. So let's go to the clip.
Discovery is everywhere you look, from small towns to wide open spaces, or even our own backyards. This is where we find the shared experiences, the quiet moments that connect us, wherever we might go. And whether the journey is long,
we have a very close bond,
a little scary,
something just came over me,
or close to home.
Are y'all ready to see your fixer-upper?
The Discovery family of networks are here to bring the world to you.
We're trying to make people feel really good, so we're giving them our best.
So be intrigued. Find the secret ingredient.
Heaven on earth.
Get hooked on passion. Let out a roar. Let in some sun. And get ready for what comes next. The Discovery family of networks. We bring the world to you.
So how did we go about this journey? Well, it's important to understand at the outset the things we did to set out to begin. We knew that we wanted to begin with a POC. But how do you get started with a POC where you're fundamentally rethinking how you approach linear production and where you do it? So we did a lot of time spending, or a lot of effort spending time with our team to talk about what it would take to get there, the belief in the outcome. We also spent a lot of time investing in our cloud content supply chain. You cannot feed the active play out, the literal transmission of our content at the end if you're not prepared up front. We invested in the data layers and the cloud technology stacks to make sure that we could process our content and bring it to this platform effectively and with a high degree of data quality to enable all this automation and the outcome we were after. So down that journey and over the next 2 years, we built all the prerequisite platforms we needed, culminating in our launch in the US in 2017. It may seem a little crazy to say we started with our most important business in the US, but we were confident. We had great partners at our side, along with AWS, as well as our partner Evertz on the playout technology. And we successfully launched all 48 channels in our US portfolio that year. From there, we went global. We went to the UK, across EMEA, APAC, culminating in Latin America this year to hit our end result, 240 feeds across all 4 regions that we operate in globally. In fact, every minute of every bit of content you saw in that sizzle reel a moment ago is carried on this cloud platform. We're very proud of that fact and that our entire pay television business is operating from the public cloud and being operated incredibly efficiently and effectively by an amazing team. So let's talk about that team benefit. When we began this process, we had disparate operations all over the globe, multiple outsource partners, different ratios in our teams as far as the amount of people looking after a given feed and the care and upkeep, disparate technology on the playout. Today, we have this view, very different picture. The concept that we went for was to really separate the technology stack and the location of the playout technology itself from the control surfaces and the staff. We've been able to abstract all that away, consolidating to a single location on the east coast of the US, which now allows us to operate out of a dual region redundancy model. We operate our feeds out of US East and EU West. That transatlantic redundancy model may seem a bit strange at first, but when you consider the global reach of our platforms, we wanted continental boundaries of failure that were a little more effective for our business. We have a backup sites and locations in Europe that make that an incredibly effective proposition for us. Let's talk about how we realize the value and the dimensions that we endeavored upon that on. On the agility front, we brought to playout technology and to our business operation a much more agile mindset. We're able to move quickly. We can launch channels faster than we ever could before. We're upgrading our playout air chains multiple times per year. That's relatively unheard of in the media industry. Many legacy environments are built and operated for years without touching or upgrading the software. We now operate and upgrade our software multiple times per year, doing red-black deployments to cut over and cut down on errors and ensure we can test before launch. That's resulted in an increase in resiliency and uptime. Our operational resilience metrics have vastly improved over the course of this project. We're now reaching 5 nines of uptimes today, where we only had 3 nines before, and we've got that wonderful multi-region model of redundancy. We have no disruptions to our customers on a general basis beyond the odd single-second issue here and there, and it's a great outcome for all involved. And then finally, on that staff productivity lens, we're now seeing a 6-fold increase over the course of the project in the ratios of staff to feeds, now operating 60 feeds for a single operator. That came with great partnership with our friends at Evertz around monitoring by exception, automation, and an investment in QC and data quality checks. At this point, I'm going to hand it off to Rasha, who's going to take us through TCO value and really how we did it from here.
Thank you, Dave. Serving channels in 220 countries, over 1,000 EC2 instances, and serving 15 petabytes of content. Moving from on-prem to a cloud solution generated 61% in total cost of ownership savings. We moved from a complex model of physical, administrative, and software costs to simplified cloud services focused on storage, compute, and networking. We were also able to reduce our network and server rack space by 92%. That allowed us the ability, along with the consolidation of the pods, to repurpose that space for our live sport tech hub, something that we would have had to create a new lease and a new building expense for it. How we were able to successfully do it, we focused on 3 core strategies: partnership, continuous improvement, governance, and analytics. In terms of partnership, our relationship with AWS and Evertz was absolutely essential for our success. We worked together on progressing the roadmap and to get it where it is today. We also continue to collaborate on different innovative POCs that focus on the linear playout, but also focus on the entire supply chain. Some of the work we're doing right now is post-production edit in the cloud, live stream monitoring, shoppable videos, IP shedless POC, analytics-focused POCs that discuss the personalization and recommendations for more targeted experience. We also look to repurpose a lot of the work we're doing for the linear playout into other products. For example, the content recontribution, which focus on content enrichment and metadata enrichment, is being also used in the Discovery Plus direct-to-consumer product as well. In terms of continuous improvement, at our scale, when you have an operation of this size, and we're constantly year over year growing, we want to make sure our investment dollars is stretched and we're getting the most out of it. We've been utilizing the EC2 savings plans and the compute plans for our workflows, especially the predictable ones, so that we could scale our growth economically. We are a media company and we want to make sure our content is rich. Storage is a big service that we rely on. So we have been making use of the lifecycle policies, the different S3 policy buckets, and intelligent tiering, as well as the archive tier as well. We also perform quarterly deep dives with our executive team to make sure we understand our spend, and we're defining actions to improve and focus on the right investments. In terms of governance and analytics, When the footprint is as large as ours, managing the spend becomes very difficult. For that, we've instituted a lot of governance policies and standards that range from tagging, from cloud intake, from configuration, from resource setup. It helps us set up the accounts correctly and ensure that the resources are used effectively. We also focus on providing showback. Our cloud spend is central, and having ability to understand what we're spending on and if those items being spent on are on the roadmap and they're strategically aligned with what we intend to do is very critical. We also focus on cost governance in general. We utilize anomaly detection, trusted advisors, we have FinHack events, cost optimization workshops. We want to make sure that we are looking at different solutions, re-architecting them. We are also encouraging and championing our teams to come and look at new generation technologies that are higher performance at lower cost. We also try to get people to adopt the mindset of owning the work that they're doing and understanding their cost mechanics so that there is more governance and ownership with them. This is how we were able to succeed. Thank you for listening.
And with this continual effort to optimize and govern their overall business costs, Discovery is able to flexibly redirect such benefits into other avenues of reinvention, such as track cycling and transforming how it's presented to the consumers. Discovery Sports Events has been working with the UCI, the worldwide governing body for cycling, to redefine and innovate track cycling. So this new series of races takes place under the UCI Track Champions League with the goal of developing a strong year-round narrative for the sport, which was traditionally just only in the Olympics, telling the whole story and setting up the foundation for sustained fan engagement. Doing this through serving live data, analysis, and predictive stats to the fans, whether they are in the velodrome where races are taking place, through live television and streaming, or through their newly launched Track Cycling League app. Okay, so how did Discovery Sports get from initial ideation to launch? All right, so first, they partnered with AWS and Discovery Sports Events, which is a portfolio of sports brands that reaches more than about 130 million viewers. Then Discovery Sports participated in an AWS program called Data-Driven Everything. It is a series of workshops designed to help customers think about data differently, to define and sometimes redefine what great looks like. When data is harnessed, it is a powerful asset that can drive sustained innovation, as well as create actionable insights to continually supercharge the fan engagement. After leaving these workshops with this focus and a prescriptive framework in hand, Discovery Sports reached out to AWS Professional Services in order to help deliver the plan. And a part of this framework was the use cases for the fan experiences. What did the audience want to see? What stats would allow cycling fans to have a more connected experience with their favorite riders? To start, Discovery Sports envisioned some key biometrics such as heart rate, cadence, and overall wattage. Then the next thing is, how do we present this? So Discovery Sports envisioned real-time dynamic graphics for traditional viewing and streaming as MVP, as well as the creation of a fan app, in which the app itself would be foundational to possible post-MVP interactive experiences for the fans at the velodrome or at home. Let's take a quick look at a video from Discovery Sports, providing a little behind-the-scenes insights into this initiative.
All the bikes are equipped with sensors to suck data, power, cadence, speed, heart rate. AWS is sucking that data from the riders and from the tie keepers and send that data into a data lake in US and send us back that data so that we can use that data in a smart way for LED screen, for mapping, for an app which we're going to launch from the second event, for the TV graphics. All the data is going through algorithms so that we can do halfway through the season predictability and get a much better insight for the fans to understand how extreme is that sport. This is the Formula One of cycling that we are looking after. So we have about 12 of those cameras, plus 10 live on boards, plus a cable cam which is flying over the velodrome operated by those gentlemen, and we operate the augmented reality. If you can see in the screen, we operate the augmented reality, just like the Australian Open, for instance, from the cable cam. Really cool, never done before in cycling. 6:23, we are just 30 minutes before kickoff. We are here in the broadcast center. Discovery Sport Events is the hot broadcaster on the entire competition. We organize it, we produce it, we broadcast it, we distribute it. It's quite a strong chain of value.
So as first steps to mobilize the data to drive real-time stats, Discovery Sports had to build a data lake, a solution enabling fast ingest, storage, cataloging, and quick access to real-time data for automated usability. The lake was foundational to harness the data. Built on AWS native services, Discovery Sports implemented a pipeline in which JSON documents were ingested at 10-second intervals. They were deduped and sanitized, and then indexed to one common structured schema so they could automate everything off of that. After this process, the index data itself is stored in DynamoDB, which is Amazon's fully managed NoSQL database. And then finally, leveraging the benefits of GraphQL, specific metrics were made readily available to mobile devices for dynamic rendering of live graphics with more efficiency and simplicity than using conventional REST API approaches. So what's next in this Discovery Sports journey with track cycling? So first, the MVP stats at launch were more mathematical, right? So now Discovery Sports is pushing forward to a computational modeling approach to generate insightful predictions like the ability of your favorite cyclist to overtake another rider, or perhaps the creation of a cyclist draft score to demonstrate efficiency of energy distribution. Discovery also has its sights on developing more interactive elements with their newly launched app, like real-time fan voting, further building on the need for fast data ingestion from millions of apps, mass processing, and fast publication back to those apps. And when we asked how fast, they said, well, it has to be faster than the rider that has top speeds of 75 miles per hour. Also starting this year is a focus on remote live production, migrating on-site velodrome productions into AWS to gain the additional flexibility with costs, resiliency, and with quality. And another one of our great customers taking advantage of this need for flexibility, leveraging AWS for live production requirements, is CBS Sports Digital. Please join me in welcoming Steph Lone, SAP of CBS Sports Digital at Viacom CBS, to share their ongoing production evolution.
All right. Hang on. There we go. All right, hey everybody, my name's Steph Lone. I head up engineering for CBS Sports Digital, which is a Viacom CBS brand. For those of you who don't know who Viacom CBS is, we are one of the largest global media and entertainment companies. We have popular brands like CBS, CBS News and Sports, Showtime, BET, Nick, MTV, Telefe, Network 10 in Australia, and this is just to name a few. We also have some world-class streaming services in our Paramount Plus service, as well as Pluto TV. So as part of the CBS brand, we at CBS Sports Digital like to think of ourselves as serving our sports customers from preps all the way to pros, starting with our high school sports brand in Max Preps. We have a college subscription service in 24/7 Sports. I think all of you probably know our flagship CBSSports.com site, mobile apps, and our OTT services. We have a 24/7 digital channel in CBS Sports HQ. And for those pros out there who really love sports, we have free and premium fantasy offerings, as well as some gambling news and information subscription services in our Sportsline brand. Across our whole portfolio, we've fully migrated all of our brands and thousands of services into the cloud. We've done this via a few models: lift and shift, hybrid, and fully native migrations. But today I'm going to focus on the work that we've done around our video workloads and our video workflows. So what does an average day look like for a CBS Sports digital employee? We curate over 30,000 live events per year. So this means hundreds, up to 500 events per day, hundreds of them concurrently. Our workloads vary, so we could do anything from major events, like an NFL or an SEC football game, a long-tail event, that would be something like a college lacrosse game, pop-up events, like a press conference, or audio-only events. So we knew that we needed the flexibility to maximize and minimize the infrastructure of the cloud, because we would not be able to be as efficient or agile with all that physical on-premise hardware. So let's take a little look here into our journey and our evolution. In the past, especially with larger scale events, the encoder has typically been kind of that demarcation point where we start that journey into the cloud. We would have a production done either at the stadium or in a broadcast center in a co-word room. It would then be fed into an on-premise encoder. We'd use Direct Connect, push into a media store, and then deliver the rest of the experience all the way through to the consumer in the cloud. These efforts were initially very high touch. It required a lot of planning and a lot of testing for execution day. And then depending on the event, we would spin up that infrastructure multiple hours, or for something like a Super Bowl, multiple weeks prior to the actual event happening. So several years ago, for the majority of our long-tail events, our audio and our pop-up events, we moved the demarcation point upstream. So now the production was still being handled either at a physical location, whether that was at a school or in an on-premise facility. But we removed the physical hardware for the encoding and started using Media Live services, again, giving us that ability to scale to hundreds of concurrent events. So if any of you are big soccer fans out there and have been watching what we've been doing over the course of the last year, you may have noticed that we've signed about a dozen separate soccer deals. CBS Sports and Paramount Plus are now offering soccer fans a full portfolio year-round of live and on-demand soccer. And in the past 8 months alone, we've introduced 9 new soccer competitions. This is more than 2,000 live soccer matches from over 145 national team associations across 5 different continents. But all these new deals brought just a few challenges with them. We had very little time between signing these deals and being fully operational. So I mentioned these prior events that we've been doing were produced on-premise, whether they were in a broadcast center, in a co-word room, they would have a very traditional master control setup. Now with so many concurrent events coming in, requiring that level of production, on top of our regular sports schedule, we knew that we needed to move our master control operations into the cloud. But in order to do this, we had to solve for a few issues involving latency in this new hybrid environment. We needed to make it easy for our operators to have a different operator coverage model based on different tiers of games that we had. And we had to have a minimum physical setup ready for when competitions started in August. So to solve our challenges, we worked very closely with Grass Valley and with AWS. We utilized the Grass Valley AMP system, and we brought to the table our own AWS storage and compute. We worked with Grass Valley on everything from signal timing to video switching, frame-accurate SCSI insertion, all the way through to monitoring and observability. So I want to take a deep dive here into our architecture. Sorry, this looks a little weird. There we go. I don't know, that got a little wonky. Okay, so this is an example of one of our soccer workflows that we needed to execute this past August. So let's start here, and I'll try to do this so both sides can see. Nope. How do I back up? There we go. All right, let's start here with contribution. So as you can see down here, we got primary and backup feeds via satellite and fiber into our facility in Stamford, Connecticut. We also had multiple studio shows. These studio shows could be in Stamford or in our New York Broadcast Center. We also had post-game shows in our CBS Sports HQ product that was at either our Fort Lauderdale facility or also in Stamford. So bringing in all these feeds into Stamford, we utilized the AMP Edge box, pushed via AWS Direct Connect up into the AMP ecosystem and the AMP environment on top of our AWS storage and compute. I'm going to go around the circle here a little bit. So if you can see here, we worked very closely with our corporate MAM team. They worked with us so that we could automate our promos, our slates, clips, bugs, and get them all in an Amazon S3 bucket. And then, as a tertiary setup, we had a cloud-based backup system for the world feed to be able to come in via Media Connect. Now, we did this because this was a new experience for CBS Sports Digital in doing master control in the cloud. And we wanted to use our internal orchestration system that if there were any issues, we could use this as an emergency option to bypass cloud master control to continue to deliver a good experience for our consumers. Okay, so I'll try on this side too, give everybody a little. All right, so now we're inside the AMP ecosystem. We were running this for each operator on one G4DN 12XL. Okay, inside here, they're doing their switching, their SCUDdy insertion, adding their clips and their bugs. And then we're distributing out via Media Connect to our Paramount Plus apps and experiences, as well as our CBSSports.com apps and experiences. At the same time, we're distributing back down on premise and back into the studios so that the producers there could see the on-air feeds. One of the future architectures here will include our simulcast distribution out to CBS Sports Network. We're through our final phases, I believe, of being able to pass the ancillary data that we need to get our closed captioning working properly here. All right, so honing in on the latency. So, as I mentioned before, these prior events were produced either on-prem fully or in the cloud fully. So all that latency was controlled upstream. So we had to build a way to allow for the operators and the studio control rooms to be able to talk to each other so that they could be in sync, since the operators were not going to be in the same physical location as the TDs. Using a combination of the Grass Valley Edge devices and AMP allowed us to align all the feeds that were coming in, as well as align the feeds going across each node that all of the operators would see. We utilized the RIST protocol, and we were able to get our on-prem to on-prem round trip in less than a second. So just to visualize this here, basically everything, oops, I did it again. There we go. No. All right, everything prior to the AMP Edge box is an SDI input. We translated that into RIST. Everything inside of the AWS ecosystem is RIST, comes back out, back onto prem, and then back out into SDI output. Again, we've timed this, it's around 750 milliseconds. All right, I'm gonna move into operations here. So with the limited time, we needed to make operations as easy and familiar to our operators as possible because we didn't have time to train them on something new. We had multiple different workloads that we were trying to accommodate for. We had heavier production workloads where we staffed in your typical 1-to-1 ratio model, one operator to one match. For these matches, the operator had to be in sync with the countdowns coming from the studios to be able to switch between multiple feeds, insert SCUDdies, insert graphics, bugs, etc. Whereas with our lighter productions, our requirements allowed us to utilize one operator for 4 matches. For these matches, they needed to be able to do switching between pregame, halftime, the event, and a post-game show, and insert the ad breaks, but we were allowing them to do this via dirty switching. We needed to make the operator panel as easy to use and familiar and intuitive as possible. And then lastly, we wanted to be able to use AWS to be flexible and cost efficient for us, so we wanted the operators to be able to spin up and spin down their environments with just the push of a button. So partnering with Grass Valley, they used Elgato's open APIs to incorporate our interface into Stream Deck. This allowed us to give the operators that familiar switching access into the Grass Valley AMP system and environment at an affordable price point to us, whether or not those units were in a cloud master control in a physical facility, or if we just sent them to their homes. All we needed was just internet access. So for the operators handling multiple matches, we had to also give them a way to drop custom SCUDdy payloads for our ad pod durations. And they were able to do this on either a game-by-game basis or across all 4 games at once. So let's take a look here at this. All right. Up here at the top, what you'll see is your inbound 4 matches that an operator would see on their panel that they were responsible for. This would be an example studio feed. This here is our HQ post-programming, and here's a slate. As you can see right now, all 4 slates were cut and moved over to all 4 outputs, all 4 matches were out on slate. But up here in the top right corner, what we have is custom ad insertion that you could either do all 4 matches at the same time or individually match by match. Over here, sorry, I'm not very good with this pointer. Over here on the left-hand side of what looks like a control panel is where each one of these 4 matches could be switched individually, or you could switch all 4 matches all together, and you could move them, for example, to slate by just one push of a button. So again, trying to make this easy and familiar, less training, less time to up-ramp all of our operators and get us operational. And lastly, I'll talk just quickly here about supply chain issues. So during our facilities planning, we had some setbacks because everybody knows about the well-known supply shortages going on. But we were able to actually launch an entire cloud-based workflow before we even got our furniture. So we launched in August, and I don't know if you guys can see this here, but these are us on cardboard tables in the middle of our cloud facility. We've done multiple iterations since August of our workflows, and I'm happy to say we now actually have our permanent furniture, and so we are fully up and operational. Okay, so the results. They've been outstanding. We have been able to deliver multiple production workloads and multiple operating models in a very short period of time to the business. Our operators have the efficiency and the flexibility to spin up and down their work environments. This is leading to a much larger cost savings for the business as a whole. And we were able to complete this project on time at a fraction of the normal budget for a project like this. So think 75% savings and more. So where are we going next? So for our existing workflows, we have now created a template of repeatability for the future. We are able now to spin up, when a new league or a new deal comes on board, we're able to spin them up in minutes or hours. And if we need to change an operator model, we can spin it up in days, not weeks or months. We're also trying to take this success and push this forward with our linear channels. So we're expanding to that for the linear channels to the cloud-first strategy as well. And we're moving upstream. So we're working on playout, and we'll be working on MAM, and then lastly, live studio production control rooms. I want to say one quick big thank you to somebody who couldn't be here today, and that's Dan Laterra. He was the mastermind behind a lot of this, and unfortunately with schedule conflicts, he couldn't come and present as well with me. But I wanted to give him a lot of kudos, and he did a lot of nights and weekends and working very closely with the Grass Valley team to get this whole soccer workflow up and running. So, Jamie, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, Steph. And finally, to wrap up this session, please welcome Sydney Lovely. Sydney is a CTO for Grass Valley, and he's here to describe how Grass Valley AMP is providing AWS customers like Viacom CBS with the flexibility necessary to transform their media workloads. Sydney.
All right, thanks, Jamie. Well, thanks, everyone, and a special thanks to the Viacom CBS team. They've been great partners in this whole journey. So we started the journey about 4 years ago. We started working with, in partnership with the AWS team, looking at how we can unlock value of the cloud for our customers. A little bit about Grass Valley to begin with. So Grass Valley, we view ourselves as the trusted partner for the media industry. We've been with the industry for over 60 years, and we've led the industry through many different technology journeys. Prior to going to cloud-based stuff, a lot of that was around AIMS and IP, and so we just see this as another evolution in the industry. If you look at a traditional approach to media production, it was really a kind of a combination of purpose-built hardware and enterprise-class software solutions. Complete solutions really required integrating from many different vendors, complex professional services installations, and so on. So as we looked at this whole thing, we felt we were sort of uniquely positioned to say, how can we transform more and more of the value chain for our customers into the cloud and take advantage of those benefits, and not just, say, playout, for example. So this is a slide I put together about 3 or 4 years ago for an internal presentation, which kind of helped explain to some of our execs around what the economics of cloud computing and cloud adoption are for our customers. So some of these things are a little bit universal for cloud in general, and some of them are a little bit specific to the media industry. So if you look in the upper right here, I'm talking about cloud adoption drivers in general. So the first one is the need for elasticity. So elasticity, being able to spin things up and down. So if you have highly bursty workloads, elasticity is a great fit for it. Always-on workloads, not as much. Other things that are important as well to customers is managing geographic diversity. And one could argue in the last 2 years that should be number 1 on the list now, but it's top of mind for our customers. And then other things like managing obsolescence, labor, facilities, and so on. And when we look at the sort of 3 verticals that we serve in the ecosystem, from playout through, say, post-production and live, we kind of built this sort of, this little comparison chart here that helps people understand it. So as an industry, we started the journey moving to cloud in playout, which was great, and it unlocked some value. But as we looked at it, we said, well, it really isn't unlocking that much value. It's a 24/7 workload. There's certain efficiencies you can unlock. But if you contrast that with live production, where you build these large, complex systems that get utilized a very small percentage of the time, we could unlock far more value for our customers if we could solve the live problem. Now, of course, the issue for us is that live is much more demanding than, say, pre-produced playout. So we had to solve some very difficult technical challenges in order to unlock live. But our thesis was, if we built a platform for live, we could do everything else. So this is when we started out reinventing really the entire broadcast ecosystem with GVAMP. So it's a common platform really allowing customers to do the entire media workflow, from live production through ingest, edit, archive, play to air, traffic, billing, the whole 9 yards. We started out and launched in the live space very deliberately, partly because we thought there was more value, and of course also part of it's because Grass Valley, we like to solve hard problems for our customers, and live is the hardest one to solve. So a lot of the benefits we were trying to address for our customers was really unlocking and modernizing workflows. So I won't go through all of this, but it gives you a sense of pain points customers struggle with. So first is having to have all of these disparate platforms that they have to glue together. It's very complex, very, very brittle, very time-consuming. Meeting the demands of live production that I already talked about. Delivering truly agile resource management. So this isn't a lift and shift. When we started the process years ago, we realized that's just not going to cut it. We could leverage a lot of our core competencies, but a lot of the platform had to be built from scratch for the cloud. And then universal deployment of workloads. Customers need to deploy workloads on-prem or in public cloud or in multiple cloud environments. They really need that level of agility, all from one common experience. And then kind of on the right-hand side here is our point of view of pain points we're trying to eliminate for customers. So completely eliminating the notion of software commissioning. This is something that you can spin up in a matter of minutes. And a lot of that had to do with cloud. A lot of it also had to do with moving everything to HTML5 and web app-based development. From there, you have to look at the pain point customers have around big bang software upgrades and rollbacks. Huge pain point in the industry, which we can address entirely in a multi-tenanted environment in the cloud. eliminating the customization bottleneck, and that many of these systems are proprietary and require customization from the core vendor. We've built the whole system with public immutable APIs, so our customers can build on top of it and partners can build on top of it alike. And then finally, modernizing the entire support paradigm. Gone are the days where customers have time to ring up our Grass Valley support team, have them email in or FTP in the logs. Oh, we missed something in the log, send us something else. It's entirely an actively monitored system with a DevOps team standing behind it and support through Slack. And again, the CBS has been a great partner in the journey, helping us really refine this, bringing their expertise and their innovation to the platform. Today, GVAmp's live with over 25 customers around the world. We've used it for various events ranging from streaming and corporate affairs all the way up through the Olympics. And here you're seeing one of our other customers, which is Jeff Butler from EA Sports, doing the FIFA 21 production. So this is an example of those attached control surfaces, a little higher end than Stream Deck. It's a full-on production switcher surface attached directly to a complete virtualized environment in the cloud. So with that said, I'll just say thanks to the AWS team. It's been great to partner with you guys, and special thanks to the CBS team as well.
So I personally want to thank everyone for joining us today. I hope you were able to gain some valuable insights from this session and from our valued customers who were very generous to us in sharing their stories here at re:Invent. One request that we have is that if you could please take our survey. We like to capture your feedback. Our goal is always to continually improve, so I know I greatly appreciate it. And if anyone has any questions, Sydney and Steph and I will be over at the M&E Lounge for the next hour, so please feel free to stop by and have a chat with us. Else than that, thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your week re:Inventing. Take care.